Present day. Present time.
WRKS FM, New York City's #1 radio station, or 98.7 KISS, New York.
The presidential election campaign is just about over. Election day is Tuesday, and we'll have a preview for you. The remarkable story of Baby Faye, Indira Gandhi assassinated. We'll meet Stevie D of the rap group The Force MDs tonight. New York State's lemon law finally takes effect. A female is executed in prison. Marvin Gaye Sr. sentenced to 5 years probation. Tragedy mars the New York City Marathon. And tonight we'll profile singer Billy Ocean. These are just some of the stories we'll be covering on The Week in Review. I'm Bob Slade. The 1984 presidential campaign is coming to a close. The two major party candidates, Democrat challenger Walter Mondale and Republican incumbent President Ronald Reagan, will keep quiet on Tuesday while the voters have their say as to whom they will want to lead the nation for the next 4 years. In the final week of campaigning, Mondale and Reagan crisscrossed the nation, stumping for votes, each candidate urging voters to go to the polls on November 6th. Each candidate blasting the other verbally, trying to score more points with the voters. A long-distance debate, you might call it. Here's how it sounded.
He's trying to tell you differently, but in California, don't you know about Ronald Reagan? Do you believe he's going to protect people of middle and moderate income?
Last week, my opponent said to the voters, let's forget about the past. If I had his past, I'd want to forget about it too.
The pollsters and the slick magazines are trying to tell us that the election is over. And we don't need to count the ballots. Well, I've got a little message for them. The only polls that count are polls with names like Rostenkowski and Kuczynski.
I believe that next Tuesday we'll see a large number of voters joining our Republican ranks for the first time.
Hillary put me over the top, helped me become nominated, and now we're back here again. I'm asking for your help. I can feel victory in the air. We're going to carry New York. We're going to be elected and have a people's president in the White House.
America's best days are yet to come. And you know something? some people over here are going to hate this, but you ain't seen nothing yet.
The vice presidential candidates also got in on the act. Democrat Geraldine Ferraro and Republican incumbent George Bush didn't hold back.
We're now just a little more than a week away from an election that will decide our future, not just for the next 4 years, but into the next decade and into the next century. In 8 days, we will decide whether or not to continue the arms race, whether to reduce the budget deficits or not, whether to strengthen education or not, and whether to continue progress towards social justice or not.
What our opponents have to offer us, I'll admit, is very scary. Walter Mondale wants to raise your taxes higher and higher and higher and higher. Mondale's favorite game is to play trick or trick.
Today, there are two overriding obstacles to preserving the peace. First, we must stop this insane arms race and second, we need a president who knows what he's doing.
I believe that clip of Walter Mondale looking into the lens in San Francisco and promising to raise taxes will go down as one of the all-time great bloopers in American politics.
There was a lot of poll watching on both sides last week. Some of those polls had Ronald Reagan leading Walter Mondale by as much as 20 points.
The polls are scaring me to death because I have a feeling that maybe some people are looking at them and saying, oh, we don't have to go and vote. It's all over.
Walter Mondale's also concerned he and other Democrats fear voters will be discouraged from going to the polls because Ronald Reagan is so far ahead.
I can report to you that I've been to this town and this city and that city, and I'm telling you that it's good out there. It's good out there. Never mind the polls. Just keep going. We're going to fight until 8 o'clock Tuesday night.
That's House Speaker Tip O'Neill. And Walter Mondale called on some big party names to help get the word out. People like Massachusetts Senator Ted Kennedy.
He opposed President Kennedy's Civil Rights Bill, the Test Ban Treaty, and aid to education. So I have a very simple question. Why doesn't Reagan quote Nixon now?
Correspondent Richard Davies has been traveling with the Walter Mondale campaign, and according to Davies, Walter Mondale is actually getting better.
His pattern of speaking is better than it was before. I must say that this speech is not the best speech he's delivered over the past few days, but I do think he's been more fluent. I've seen Mondale stumble a lot when he's spoken to fairly large crowds earlier in the campaign. That really appears to have gone. Mondale looks a lot more fired up. He appears to speak with greater passion.
And how is he holding up?
Walter Mondale has invested an enormous amount of emotional energy in this campaign. He has spent 2 years running for president. Lately, his days have been 18 hours each. He's campaigned in as many as 5 states a day, so he's worked extremely hard. I think he's invested so much emotional energy in the campaign that he's not going to admit to himself, let alone to anybody else, that he's lost it. So he's campaigning very much as if he has a chance.
That's correspondent Richard Davies. So it now comes down to the voters, and they will have the final say, not the polls. It's been a long political year for both Ronald Reagan and Walter Mondale. It's been a year of well-scored points in the verbal battle for votes.
In the 1980 presidential campaign, you could often catch Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, and Ted Kennedy striking a common theme in their speeches.
Jobs, jobs, and jobs.
New jobs, exciting jobs, stimulating jobs.
Jobs, jobs, jobs. And in 1984, the short catchphrase is a staple of political rhetoric. Walter Mondale brought us,
"Where's the beef?"
Yeah. And Ronald Reagan could not resist the temptation to say his favorite line,
"I can't help it. There you go again."
Indeed, with all the fuss that is made about points scored for the strength of logical arguments in the presidential debates, it is often the short catchphrase, the funny line that everyone remembers.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
The age issue gave birth to a whole series of one-liners.
I'll challenge him to an arm wrestle anytime.
Mondale responded, "It's not an arm wrestle we have to worry about, it's the arms race." And there was more. Ronald Reagan.
With regard to the age issue and everything, if I had as much makeup on as he did, I'd look younger too.
Walter Mondale.
The real problem is not makeup on the face, it was the makeup on those answers.
Yes, catchphrases were everywhere, even when not intended for public consumption. Who could forget Barbara Bush's assessment of Geraldine Ferraro as something that rhymes with rich? Or George Bush's declaration that he had kicked some ass? If there weren't enough one-liners in the debates, there would be plenty more in the post-debate interviews, like Ed Koch's characterization of Mondale's performance.
Smasheroo!
There's no doubt that presidential candidates must try to be entertaining, clever, and witty when they debate on national television. They are out to impress, to charm, to enchant an entire nation. And in that context, it is perhaps not so absurd that Larry Harmon should be running for president this year.
Just remember what your old pal, President Bozo, says. Just keep laughing.
This is Michael Isaac.
Itching for a scratch.
You're in trouble, son, I know for sure. Cause what you got, there ain't no cure. So take this beat, go home and scratch. But stay away from me, cause it's easy to catch. Itching for a scratch. It's a penicillin can match. Itching for a scratch. Itching for a scratch.
Trisco, TCD, Mercury, Jesse D, and Stevie D. 5 young men from Staten Island who call themselves the Force MDs. 5 young men who started out 6 years ago singing and rapping for fun.
We just wanted to make a little pocket money. That's how it really is, truthfully, and everything. We just got lucky, made a few ideas together, and we are here where we at now.
Stevie D, who recently stopped by our KISS FM studios for a chat. A lot of kids are under the impression that, once you get your act together, so to speak, that you can go out there and make money and be successful. But it's not always that easy, is it?
No, it is. It takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of hard work, truthfully.
Tell us about some of the experiences you guys have had on the road to success, so to speak.
Well, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, trying to find something that the crowd will understand.